Iskadavis Gadashmira, Yamad, Hussein, Yamlik, Hussein, Ayakon, whole basis, Roll Babalos, my Korivim, you. Yehesh Mirabba Mavarach Laylamame, Omayo, Yisparach, Yishtabach, Yispav, Yismab, Yisnatsay, Yisadel, Yisalev, Shemedi Kudisho, Laylam in Kova Khasab, Shusatush, Khasab, Nikhmasar, Dami, Rama, Amen. Tiskabel, Tsasan, Basan, Kho Yisrael, Kodamavan, Bishmayavim, Amen. Yehesh Lamarab, Shmai, Behind Malena, Kho Yisrael, Vimru, Amen.
Shalom and bracha from Yerushalayim.
We'd love to share whatever we have with as many people as we can. We're privileged this evening to study the first section of the third book of Moses, Vayikra. And the opening text reads, Vayikra el Moshe, God called Moshe, Vayidaber Hashem elav, and then began speaking with him. And the commentaries, from the earliest commentaries, tried to understand what exactly are these introductory words. What does it mean, Vayikra el Moshe? If we're saying that God spoke to Moses, well, we have many, many times, countless amounts of times, God speaking to Moshe. What is this Vayikra? What's the difference between calling Moshe and speaking Moshe? Rashi writes in his very first comment on this section, L'chol dibrot u'l'chol amirot u'l'chol tzivuyim kadma kriya l'shon chiba. Vayikra is some form of communication by God which preceded any type of speech, which was a language of love. It was a language reaching out to Moshe and calling him. God made a point of always calling Moshe and then speaking. And you know, one of the most beautiful and beloved words to most people in the world is their own name. If you want to find the word that many, many people enjoy hearing over and over, just say their name. Just say their name over and over again. I took once one course only in some kind of a business, communications, and they were telling us how in certain teachings of how to improve sales, one of the ways that they employ is they keep using your name over and over again because people love to hear their name. And not long after I took that class, someone came to the door to try to sell us something. And I guess he took the same class I did. And he kept saying, "You never met me before. Mordechai, this really would be good for you, Mordechai. Mordechai, and he said my name 20, 25 times within a few minutes. Maybe he's a student of the business school, or maybe he studied the book of Vayikra. Remember, when Hashem speaks to Moshe, where's the first time?
By the bush.
Burning bush, huh? Yes. Vayikra, the same word, Vayikra. God calls out to Moshe. And what does he say? Vayikra elav elokim mitoch hasneh vayomer, Moshe, Moshe. If you remember the angel of God calling to Abraham in the story of Akedat Yitzchak that you made reference to. Vayikra elav, the same word, Vayikra. Vayikra elav malach Hashem ben hashamayim vayomer, Abraham, Abraham. And the angel calls out to Abraham from heaven in the 3rd chapter of Samuel 1. When God speaks to Shmuel, the word Vayikra is used. Vayikra Hashem el Shmuel. God called Shmuel.
But that's such a disturbing prophecy when he speaks to him there. I mean,
perhaps to establish a certain level of closeness, right? Vayosef Hashem kro'ot Shmuel. God again calls Shmuel. And even a 3rd time, Vayavo Hashem vayitzav vayikra kefam v'Shmuel. In Tractate Yomah, what do we learn from this? I mean, this is it's an interesting historical point that God calls and then speaks. Are we merely learning about the ways of Hashem? Or are we supposed to internalize this message and how we speak with other people? And maybe even in the first sin, remember when Hashem speaks to Adam after the downfall with the tree of knowledge? What word is used there? The same word. Vayikra Hashem Elokim El Ha'adam. God called Adam. Says the Gemara in Masechet Yomah, what do we learn from these descriptions for our own life? Limda Torah derech eretz. The Torah teaches us proper forms of behavior. First, establish a certain level of connection. First, establish a certain level of closeness. First, establish a certain level of endearment. Vayikra is a lashon chiba. Shelo yomar adam davar lachavero elaim kein korehu. Before you speak, call them. And I was thinking that maybe it's often difficult to understand why so often we speak and maybe people don't listen. Maybe sometimes we have the most beautiful messages in the world. Maybe sometimes people are trying to teach the highest level of ethics, the highest level of morality, the highest level of true religion, the highest level of teachings and traditions. And they tell them to do certain kinds of things. They instruct them to follow certain kinds of ways. And there's no real response. May I humbly suggest that the reason is because many people just start talking. And what they're missing is Vayikra. They just start with Vayidaber. This is Vayidaber. This is what I want you to do. This is the correct pathway. This is the proper behavior. But that's not what Hashem does. Do we know how to show love? Or do we only know criticism? I once read an article about parenting, and they did a study of how many times a day, I don't know, a certain group of parents, all of the parents love their children, all the children love their parents. May they have the closest relationships, I hope, at the highest level. You know, they did a study of how often a certain group, how many times a day did they criticize their children? And how many times a day did they express closeness and love and support and enthusiasm and encouragement to their children? It wasn't close at all. Right? I feel that this book, Vayikra, is the book of getting close. This is where we get close to God. In fact, Kuf Reish Aleph means to call. Kuf Reish Beis means to get close. Maybe when you call, then you're getting close. And this book deals with Karban, which is a form of, we usually translate it as sacrifice, but Karban means some form of getting closer. And another name for this book is Torat Kohanim. Now, technically, the reason why this is called the Book of the Kohanim is because so many of the chapters here deal with the laws that were carried out, the sacrificial order, the temple rites, the laws of the Kohanim. I would like to suggest that maybe if this is a book of Vayikra, if this is a book of speech, of how to call out with love, with gentility, with feeling, with sensitivity to others, then maybe the experts at that are the Kohanim. Because the Kohanim teach us how to love everyone. Because the Kohanim are descendants of Aaron HaKohen. Hevei mital midav shel Aaron. We all strive to become students of Aaron. Ohev Shalom, Rodev Shalom, Ohev et HaBeriot. Loving peace, pursuing peace, loving people. And last on the list, look at that list. He loves loving peace, pursuing peace, loving people, and then bringing them closer to Torah. Perhaps many people are trying to bring people closer to Torah, but they want to skip those all those first steps. You know, Ohev Shalom, Rodev Shalom, Ohev et HaBeriot. Maybe they never studied the message of Vayikra. Maybe the Kohanim. Maybe this is the book of the Kohanim. Because the Kohanim teach us Levarech et Amo Yisrael bi'ahava, to bless the Jewish people with great love.
What I want to say is, we later on in Vayikra, we come across Hafta Reyecha Kamocha for the first time.
Right. In this book. In this book. Good.
And what Harold said, of course, is that, on one foot.
Right. So maybe we could change so many relationships. Maybe we could improve the closeness in family life, in community life, maybe in world life. If you want to criticize someone, the Midrash teaches that any love relationship without criticism is not really love. Kol ahava she'ein ima tochacha eina ahava. Because part of loving someone is helping them become better, is helping criticize them, helping them reach the next level. But perhaps, if it's only criticism and there's no love, then that's not real criticism either. If you can't begin by telling them how much you love them and then speaking, then maybe they're not even going to listen. May all of us find their way, each person in his or her own pathway of life, to fulfill Vayikra. And if we do Vayikra, we will ultimately reach the highest levels of closeness and communication. Thank you so much for listening. Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'Kol Yisrael. Emru Amen. Baruch Hu Es Adonai HaMivarach. Adonai HaMivarach. Everyone is most welcome. We have Baruch Hashem food.
We have food.